Grayson, Captain for Dorman. All right. Let's run the buzzers, please. All right. That's good. All right. Both sides ready to go? Coaches ready? All right. Good luck, guys. Toss up one. This quantity can be found by finding the slope of a line when plotting the logarithm of the rate constant against the reciprocal of temperature, and it is addressed in the Hammond postulate, appearing over the exponential divided by RT in the Arrhenius equation. Oh, in the Arrhenius equation, which is used to calculate this value, it can be lowered by catalysts. For 10 points, identify. Yes? Over here. 10 points.
Can you do a little bit slower?
Sorry, sure. The last time I read was at HSNCT, so I'm still on like the clock mentality, yeah. Answer these questions about novels by female authors for 10 points each. What novel by Pearl Buck tells of Wang Long and his future wife, Olan? Yes. Esther Greenwood gets an internship at a magazine in New York City in what novel by Sylvia Plath?
The Belgium.
A line from the Old Testament book Song of Songs provided the title of what Lillian Hellman play in which Oscar Hubbard married Bertie solely to acquire her family's plantation? Answer.
Fences.
Nope. Over here.
No.
No, The Little Foxes. So 20 points on the bonus. Toss up two. This author wrote a short story in which a space giant is banished from his home planet for writing a heretical book about insects and travels to Earth to discuss philosophy with humans. In addition to Micromegas, this author wrote a work in which the title character is thrown out of the castle Thunderton Trunk for kissing Cuneigon and is told by a yes. 10 bonus. That was Alex?
Yeah.
Alright. Answer these questions about prime ministers for 10 points each. What two-term British Prime Minister, best known for repealing the Corn Laws, issued the Tamworth Manifesto and was an opponent of Catholic emancipation? Answer. Nothing? Captain? Robert Peel. Peel. This man succeeded Charles Townshend as Chancellor of the Exchequer. Named this man who faced the Gordon riots and resigned after Britain's defeated Yorktown. Answer. No, Captain. No, Ward North. What first Prime Minister of Canada successfully quelled Louis Riel's Red River Rebellion and faced a political scandal after awarding Hugh Allen a contract to build the Pacific Railway? Answer. No, Captain. Answer. MacDonald. John MacDonald. So that is no points on either side on that one. And toss up three. Alagille syndrome causes xanthomas that affects this organ that contains the spaces of Dis and is surrounded by Glisson's capsule. Albumin levels in this organ can be measured by doctors, and Wilson's disease causes a buildup of copper in this organ that contains Kupfer cells and is by, yes?
Liver?
10 bonus. One word out of power. Bonus. Name these colorful works of music for 10 points each. What Johann Strauss the Younger work based on a poem by Carl Beck is often heard around New Year's Eve and is named for a European waterway?
Blue Baby.
Yes. This piece was written for Paul Whiteman's band and premiered at Aeolian Hall. Get this George Gershwin piece that begins with a clarinet glissando.
Backstage Blue.
The sixth door in this work reveals a lake of tears, and the seventh door reveals three ex-wives. This Bela Bartok opera sees Judith explore the title estate.
Blue Baby Castle.
30 points. Toss up four. Segmentia served as this man's general, and this man repelled an attack from the Mosi kingdom. This man had the architect Abu Ishaq el-Saheli build the Jinguerber Mosque as well as Sankore University. King Magan succeeded this member of the Keita dynasty. For 10 points, the price of gold collapsed after, yes, 10 bonus. Answer the following questions about the human body for 10 points each. What is the anatomical name for the shoulder blade? No, Captain.
Scapula.
Scapula. What is the anatomical name for the kneecap? Answer? That's the patella, yes. LH, FSH, and growth hormone are all secreted by what gland that lies under the hypothalamus and is known as the master gland?
Pituitary?
No, Captain.
Pituitary.
Pituitary, so 2010. Toss up 5. This nation's island of Corpo is a popular vacation destination. This nation had to recognize the autonomy of the islands as a condition of its membership to the European Union. The Gulf of Bothnia separates this country from its western neighbor, while it is separated from the Baltic states by a namesake gulf. For 10 points, name this European nation located between Russia and Sweden, whose capital is Helsinki. Yes.
Finland.
10 bonus.
It's Sweden.
That was Kyle?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Bhutan.
Answer these questions about the works of Rudyard Kipling for 10 points each. Rikki Tikki Tavi appears in this Rudyard Kipling collection of short stories that also features the tiger Shere Khan and the man-cub Mowgli. You'll be a man, my son, are the final words of this Kipling poem that was written in response to the Jameson raid. The title figure is told, "You're a better man than I am," in this Kipling poem about an Indian water bearer who saves a soldier's life. 30. I told you the questions get harder, the page turns get harder. Toss up 6. In this painting, a woman wears an oval brooch and 2 potted plants sit on a white porch in the background. A red barn, yes,
American Gothic.
15 bonus. The Well of Ur lies near this object. For 10 points each, name this world tree in Norse myth from which Odin once hung himself. Yggdrasil is gnawed upon by this dragon that resides in its base. Messages between Nidhogg and the nameless eagle at the top of Yggdrasil are relayed by what swirl that runs back and forth across the tree? No, Captain? Ratatosk. There's another tie in there, so. So that is 10, 20. So what I heard from you was Ratosk.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Toss up 7. A fan made of yak hair called a chower is waved in places of worship in this religion, and those places of worship in this religion have communal kitchens. Members of the, yes, 15, bonus. Good buzz. This mathematician's hypothesis deals with the distribution of primes for 10 points each. Identify this man who created this namesake zeta function and names a type of sum. Answer? No, Captain. Riemann. Riemann sums are used to approximate these entities that represent the area under a curve. Answer? No, Captain. Integrals. What approximation method for integrals uses parabolas and is named after an English mathematician? Answer? No, Captain?
Smith.
No. Simpson's rule. Simpson's rule. So 20 points over here on the bonus. Toss up 8. This law was introduced in the House as the Service Members Home Ownership Tax Act of 2009 and was predicted to create death panels. Consumers complained about the lack of clarity of clawback guidelines of this bill that formed temporary high-risk pools upon its introduction. Children under the age of 26 can receive coverage from their parents' plans as a condition of this legislation. For 10 points, identify this law described as pure applesauce by Antonin Scalia, which led to the case Burwell v. Hobby Lobby. Yes?
Obamacare.
10 bonus.
Here we go.
Or the Affordable Care Act, I can take either. Identify the following Auguste Rodin sculptures for 10 points each. What Rodin sculpture was originally titled The Poet and depicts a man resting his chin on his hand. A miniature version of the Thinker is depicted in this larger Rodin sculpture that also includes versions of The Kiss and The Three Shades. Rodin was falsely accused of casting this sculpture from a live model due to its realistic and detailed appearance. 30. Toss up 9. A book that compared this experiment to the incident at Abu Ghraib was entitled The Lucifer Effect. Christina Maslach was the girl. Yes? 15 bonus.
Good job.
The fourth part of this novel focuses on Dilsey, a servant for the novel's central family. For 10 points each, identify this novel in which Dilsey takes Benji Compson to church and Quentin Compson commits suicide by jumping from a bridge. The Sound and the Fury is a novel by this American author of Absalom, Absalom. Yeah. Requiem for a Nun was the sequel to what other Faulkner novel about the abduction and rape of Temple Drake? No, Captain. Answer? It's called Sanctuary. Sanctuary. 20 points. Toss up 10. When one character in this novel returns from exile, he burns a white church belonging to Reverend Smith. That character's son, Noe, had just changed his name to Isaac. One character in this novel beats his wife during the week of peace and accidentally kills the boy. Yes? 10 bonus. Name these biological molecules and compounds for 10 points each. What protein is a porphyrin ring with a central iron atom and is used by red blood cells to transport oxygen to tissues? Would you like me to repeat that? Or you okay, yeah. I didn't know if that happened.
Sorry.
What compound that keeps cell membranes fluid builds up to form gallstones?
No.
Answer? No, Captain. No, cholesterol. Cholesterol. What neurotransmitter produced in the substantia nigra is found in excess in schizophrenic patients and is deficient in Parkinson's patients?
Yeah.
20 points. And I have a halftime score of 285-60. Do we agree with the score?
Yes.
All right. Coaches, would you like a moment, or shall we press on?
I'd like a moment.
That's fine.
You got 95?
Yeah, I got 295.
Okay, I have 30. 70?
Oh, okay. 70.
Yes. I'm just going through my totals. 90? 130? 165?
That's right.
Yeah. There were 20 points on the bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 plus 35 does not get you 165.
We might have that effect.
That's okay, I once accidentally took 100 points away from a team because I didn't have to.
They say simple math, but it's really not.
All right. Both sides ready to go? All right. Once again, best of luck to both teams. Here is toss-up 11. The brother of this figure made 3 gods from her necklace, causing her to win a challenge. This deity rejected her husband after he killed the goddess of food out of disgust. This goddess gave her grandson 3 gifts, a jewel, a mirror, and a sword. This goddess's brother, Susanoo, threw a dead horse at her, and she went into hiding after seeing... Yes?
I'm gonna try
10 bonus. Answer these questions about UN Secretaries General for 10 points each. What South Korean man is the current UN Secretary General and is expected to step down at the end of 2016?
Kim Un.
No. Captain? No, it is Ban Ki-moon, and Ban is the family name.
Yeah.
That's what I need there. I'm so sorry. It's the Asian thing with family names.
So what I said, I had that part right?
Yes.
Yes, it is Ban Ki-moon, but Ban is the
I
family
needed
name.
Ban.
That is what I need. The first UN Secretary General was what Norwegian statesman who had a hostile relationship with the Soviet Union following UN intervention in the Korean War?
Smith.
No. Captain? No. Tricky lie. John F. Kennedy called this UN Secretary General the greatest statesman of our generation. This Secretary General died in a plane crash in 1961 on a peacekeeping mission to the Congo. Answer?
Smith.
No. The wonderfully named Dag Hammarskjöld. So, no points on either side on that one. And toss up 12. This man was once embarrassed on a call-in radio show after a colleague filled his office with helium gas, causing, yes, 15 bonus. Figured that one's gonna go fast.
Yeah.
Bonus. One work by this author introduced the concepts of mechanical and organic solidarity. For 10 points each, give this French sociologist who introduced those terms in The Division of Labor and Society. Answer? No answer, Captain? Durkheim. Another work by Emile Durkheim stated that Protestants, singles, and men perform this action more often than Catholics, couples, and women. Answer?
Rare.
No, Captain.
Suicide?
Suicide.
Oh.
What form of suicide discussed by Durkheim is classified as suicide related to being overwhelmed by the beliefs of a group and occurs in locations where individual needs are secondary to the needs of larger groups? Answer? No answer, Captain. Answer?
Group suicide.
No, it's altruistic. Altruistic. So 20 points over here on the balance. And toss up 13. This musical composition starts with the Troparion of the Holy Cross, played by 8 cellos. This piece was premiered in 1882 at the Church of Christ the Savior and features the song La Marseillaise. God Save the Tsar is depicted in one part of this yes?
1812 overture.
10 in bonus. Don't look so nervous, you're right. Bonus. This streaming service will eventually air the Marvel series Luke Cage and the Defenders for 10 points each. Identify the service that counts House of Cards and Orange is the New Black among its original programming.
Netflix.
This 2016 Netflix series is set in Hawkins, Indiana, and starts with the disappearance of Will Byers.
Stranger Things.
In Stranger Things, this girl with psychokinetic abilities is the subject of government experiments and is taken in by Mike in the second episode. Answer?
Smith.
No, Captain? Answer? No. Go one further in the alphabet. L. Her name is 11, but it's shortened to L. So 20 points. Does that show any good? I've heard good things about
It is
it.
good.
Same here, I've heard good things, but haven't got a chance to watch it yet.
Very good.
Toss up 14. This man started a successful business with Maurice Clark when he was still a teenager, and a 19-part expose in McClure's magazine by Ida Tarbell focused on this man's company. This man's descendants included Jay, a senator from West Virginia, and Nelson, who was Gerald Ford's vice president. For 10 points, name this billionaire who founded, yes?
Rockefeller?
Standard Oil, 10 points, your bonus. Answer the following questions about an art movement for 10 points each. An offshoot to this art movement was called Illuminism. This art movement's lesser-known members include Worthington Whitbridge and Jervis McGinty. Answer? No answer, Captain.
Surrealism?
Hudson River School. What founder of the Hudson River School painted works such as the Voyage of Life and the Oxbow?
Thomas Cole.
Thomas Cole was depicted talking with William Cullen Bryant in this Hudson River School painting by Asher Durand. Answer?
Yellow.
No. Captain?
The Red River.
I know, it's called Kindred Spirits. Kindred Spirits. So 10 points in the bonus. And also 15. At the beginning of this play, one character is frustrated that the title character is married to the daughter of Brabantio. One character in this play is warned about jealousy, that green-eyed monster, and later snaps after finding a handkerchief that had been left. Yes? 10 bonus. Left behind by Iago. This man was given this epithet because of an incident in the Jordan River. For 10 points each, identify this figure who predicted the coming of Jesus and ritually bathed him. John the Baptist died when Herod had him decapitated for this daughter of his who desired his head on a platter. Answer? No, Captain.
Smith.
No. Salome. This husband of Elizabeth was the father of John the Baptist. He shares his name with the 11th of the 12 minor prophets.
Is that right?
That is 20 points.
Good job, Charlie.
Toss up 16. The geometric mean of this quantity for each atom in a compound is equal to this quantity for the compound, and the average energy of a free atom's valence electrons can be used to calculate it. Slater's rules are used to calculate this quantity that can be found by summing together ionization energy and electron affinity, defined on the Allen. Yes? 10 bonus. Answer these questions about the leader of a criminal family for 10 points each. What man who believed in an apocalyptic war known as Helter Skelter partnered with his followers to commit 9 murders in California in the late 1960s?
Manson.
In 1969, the Manson family murdered what pregnant actress and wife of Roman Polanski, along with 4 others at their home in Los Angeles. Mhm. What member of the Manson family was arrested in 1975 after a failed attempt to assassinate President Gerald Ford? Answer?
John.
No. Answer?
Marilyn Manson.
No. Not a member of the Manson family. Lynette Frome. Lynette Frome. You might know her by her nickname Squeaky, and I'm not making it up. So that's 20 points over here. Toss up 17. In this book, Sybil Frey is impregnated by Tommy, and Mortimer Little commits suicide after losing his job at the Southern Bell Fuel Company. A person who, yes?
All things done?
15, good buzz.
Good job.
Identify these lakes for 10 points each. The collapse of Mount Mazama created what Oregon lake that is the deepest in the United States?
Great.
Makes sense. What large lake between New York and Vermont was the site of a naval battle during the War of 1812?
Which one?
Rainbow Bridge National Monument can be reached by crossing what 2nd largest man-made reservoir in the U.S., located on the Colorado River and named for a Civil War veteran and former president of the USGS?
Whitney?
No, Captain.
Dude. Wait, rank.
No. Lake Powell. Powell, so 20 points on the bonus.
Utah.
Toss up 18. KDEL sequences signal proteins to stay in this organelle, and one type of this organelle, yes? No, but no penalty. I'm habitually saying neg 5, but there are no negs in this tournament. KDEL sequences signal proteins to stay in this organelle, and one type of this organelle contains calsequestrin and is located in muscle cells. COP1 and COP2 aid in transport between this protein synthesizing organelle and the Golgi apparatus. For 10 points, identify this organelle. It can be rough or smooth based on, yes? Yes, so 10 points. Answer these questions about a work of British literature for 10 points each. A group of British schoolboys, including Piggy and Ralph, descend into savagery in what William Golding novel? What object is used by Ralph as a horn to call all of the survivors to one area following the plane crash? Answer? No answer, Captain? Yes. What boy who faints frequently carries on a conversation with a pig's head and is beaten to death by the boys who mistake him for the beast? Answer?
Jack.
No, Captain.
Simon.
Simon. So 10, 20.
Who counts that?
Toss up 19. The Dear Boss letter written by this individual was later discredited by police. This man, who was believed to have been a medical professional and was speculated to have been Lewis Carroll, left DNA on a shawl at the scene of a crime propagated by him. This man only committed crimes after midnight on weekends. Yes?
Zodiac killer?
No penalty. For 10 points, identify this man written about by Melville McNaughton, who murdered Mary Kelly and several other women in Whitechapel, London. Yes?
Jack the Ripper.
10 bonus.
That's what I thought.
Identify these holders of U.S. cabinet offices for 10 points each. In 2014, Barack Obama nominated this person to replace Eric Holder. This woman is the first female African-American Attorney General. Answer?
Smith.
No?
Right?
No, Loretta Lynch. This Rhodes Scholar received a college degree in theoretical physics at the University of Oxford. The Secretary of Defense replaced Chuck Hagel in 2015. Answer?
Smith.
No? Captain?
Yeah.
No, Ashton Carter. What former Iowa governor is the only member of the Obama cabinet to serve in his position during Obama's entire 8-year term? Answer?
Smith.
No?
Johnson?
No, Tom Vilsack. So, no points in the bonus.
I'll never visit them.
Toss up 20. This man recorded his last acoustic album, Nefertiti, with Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock. This man's first gold album, Bitches Brimlet, yes,
Davis.
15 bonus.
Josh Davis.
And your bonus. Name these chemical elements for 10 points each. Thiols are functional groups that contain what element that combines with lead to form galena? Answer? No answer, Captain.
Copper.
No, sulfur. The red form of this element is found in match heads. It also has white, violet, and black varieties.
Phosphorus.
Manganese was the original name given to this element that has no stable isotopes, that has no stable isotopes. Its isotope 99 is used in medical imaging. Answer?
Okay, Megan.
That is 20 points. And I have a final score of 425, 195. Thank you guys, good game.